You felt it again, that flash. That heat behind your ribs that rises so fast it scares you. And what did you do with it? Same thing you always do. You swallowed it, smiled, said it is fine, changed the subject, because somewhere along the way you learned that your anger isn't safe, that it is the one emotion you are not allowed to have. And the strangest part is you can handle everyone else's anger just fine. A friend vents and you hold space beautifully. A stranger raises their voice and you stay calm. But the moment your own anger surfaces, something in your chest slams shut like a door. And behind that door is a version of you that you've spent your whole life keeping locked away. And almost nobody talks about what is actually happening underneath. You know exactly who these people are, though. They're the friend who tells the worst story you've ever heard, and somehow makes it hilarious. You are the one who cries when you are furious because your body found a loophole. Tears are acceptable. Anger isn't, so your nervous system converts one into the other. And here is what is fascinating. The psychology behind anger avoidance is one of the most well-documented patterns in developmental research, and it almost always traces back to one place. And here is what nobody tells you. It is not that they don't feel the pain. It is that they feel it so deeply they had to build another door out of it. So let's go back, because this pattern almost always starts in childhood, and the origin is more specific than you'd think. When someone got angry in your house, things broke, not always physically. Sometimes it was silence that broke. Trust, safety, the illusion that everything was fine. Anger was the match, and your childhood was the dry wood. And your brain, brilliant and terrified and only 4 years old, did the only logical thing it could. It filed anger under dangerous. Not just other people's anger, all anger, including yours. Especially yours. Developmental psychologists call this affect phobia. It is a clinical term for being afraid of your own emotions, and anger is almost always the first one that gets locked away. So let's talk about what that does to you over 20-25 years. Because it doesn't just sit quietly in the background, it runs everything. First thing anger avoidance does is turn you into a chronic accommodator. You become the person who bends. Always, for everyone. Not because you are generous, though you are, but because bending feels safe, and standing firm feels like the thing that used to get someone in your house in trouble. Psychologists call this conflict avoidance, but that name is too clean. What it really is a survival pattern where your nervous system has decided that disagreement equals danger, and it shows up everywhere. You agree to plans you don't want. You say yes when your whole body is screaming no. You let people cross boundaries you never even drew, and then wonder why you feel so exhausted all the time. But here is where it gets really interesting and a little painful. The anger doesn't actually go away when you suppress it. It just changes costumes. It shows up as resentment you can't explain, as exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, as a low hum of irritation that you aim at yourself instead of at the person who actually earned it. Therapists who work with anger suppression see this pattern constantly. They call it anger turned inward. And in plain English, it means you'd rather hurt yourself with silence than risk hurting someone else with the truth. The thing you are actually afraid of, that explosive version of anger you saw as a kid, that volcanic loss of control, that is not what your anger looks like. You are terrified of becoming the person who scared you, but you were never going to be that person. And deep down, some part of you already knows that. You can see it when you really look. But knowing isn't the same as believing. And there is this other piece that nobody talks about. The guilt. The moment you feel anger, even justified anger, even anger that any reasonable person would feel, a second emotion crashes in right behind it. Guilt. Shame. The sense that something is wrong with you for feeling this way at all. Psychologists call this secondary emotional response. You feel anger, and then you feel bad about feeling anger. 2 layers. The second one buries the first before you can even process it. And this is where it gets trapped. Anger needs somewhere to go. It is energy, it is information. It is your body saying something is wrong, and this matters, and I deserve better. But when guilt blocks the exit, the anger loops. It circles back inward and becomes self-criticism. I am too sensitive. I am overreacting. I shouldn't feel this way. Sound familiar? That voice isn't yours. It is an echo of every time your anger was met with punishment, dismissal, or the silent treatment that somehow felt worse than yelling. And here is the part that nobody's ready for. The strong friend doesn't just burn out. They disappear. Psychologists call it alexithymia, adjacent behavior. Not a full inability to identify emotions, but a trained habit of rerouting feelings through humor before they register. Anger is a boundary with a pulse. It is your nervous system saying this matters too much to stay silent about. And the reason it feels so dangerous to you specifically is because you never got to see it done well. You never saw someone get angry and stay safe at the same time. Your only model for anger was destruction, so your brain concluded the only safe option was suppression, and that logic was perfect for a 4-year-old. But you are not 4 anymore, and this is where the real work begins. Not in learning to rage, nobody's asking you to become loud, but in learning that your anger carries information you desperately need. Every time you suppress anger, you are throwing away a message your body wrote for you. A message that says this relationship isn't equal, or this job is costing more than it pays, or I've been saying yes for so long, I forgot I am allowed to say no. The first step isn't expressing anger. It is just noticing it without running. Sitting with the heat for 5 seconds longer than you usually do. Not acting on it, not analyzing it, just letting it exist in your body without reaching for the exit. Therapists call this distress tolerance. But in plain language, it means training your body to understand that feeling anger and being in danger are not the same thing. Because right now your nervous system treats them as identical. Anger equals threat. Feeling equals danger. And the only way to update that wiring is to feel the anger and survive it, over and over, until your body finally gets the memo. And here is what I want to leave you with, the part that matters most.